Good morning, church. Who's ready to worship today? Amen. Let's stand and sing. And I wanna scream it out from every mountain top. Your goodness knows no bounds. Your goodness never stops. Your mercy follows me, and your kindness fills my life. Your love amazes me. And I sing because you are good, and I dance because you are good, and I shout because you are good. You are good to me. And nothing and no one comes anywhere close to you. The earth and oceans need only reflect this truth. And in my darkest night, you shine as bright as day. Your love amazes me. And I sing because you are good, and I dance because you are good, and I shout because you are good. You are good to me. Come on, sing it. And I sing because you are good, and I dance because you are good, and I shout because you are good. You are good to me. All right, let's take this time to shake somebody's hand, welcome them to Epic Church, and tell them Happy Sabbath. All right, church, and with a cry of praise, my heart will proclaim, you are good, you are good, and in the sun or rain, and my life celebrates, you are good. Good with a cry, and with a cry of praise, my heart will proclaim, you are good, you are good, and in the sun or rain, my life celebrates, you are good, oh, you are good. Scream, and I wanna scream it from every mountain top. Your goodness knows no bounds. Your goodness never stops, and your mercy
the one that lives in Red Deer. Red Deer Moses. It's good to be back. If you didn't know, I was out in the wilderness the last month on a sabbatical, which is a time where pastors try to get smarter and reconnect with their mentors, stuff like that. So it's really cool. But now, towards last week, we're like, I want to get back. I want to get back. I want to get back. And it was fun to be back. And I understand that Sundar did an excellent job taking care of everybody. Right, Sundar?
I hope so.
And you guys took care of Sundar too, so way to go. Just a couple of announcements. One thing is, if you want more information about Epic, fill out a connection card right here. A couple of things happen when you fill out a connection card. We can plug you into our newsletter. This comes out every week. You get a devotional, coupons to Bed Bath & Beyond. No, that's a lie. We should do that. You can also get more involved when you fill one of these connection cards. In fact, this could be your first time visiting, and next time, you could already be up here doing something. That's how we want to move. We want to engage you as fast as possible. The second thing is, if you drive that direction, or is it that direction? If you drive south-ish and get off the highway, you will arrive at a mysterious forest called Foothills Camp. And every summer, they put on an awesome program for kids. So if you have a kid, and the ages, they start all the way from like 7 to 15 or something like that. If you know someone who could benefit from a week, maybe their parents could benefit from a week with no kids. No, that's not the reason. But we can hook you up with that. We want to send kids to camp. Please come talk to us or pick up more information there in the back. And the big announcement that I just want to share with you is June 14 to 16. Father's Day weekend, the most sacred day of the year. No. Thank you. All right. You are invited to join us for our Epic Church campout. I was going to pause for applause. That's fine. We go out to Twin Lakes Campground, and it is a whole weekend of just worship, s'mores, fires, canoeing, not in that order. And you're welcome to come out just for the day. There will be no church there. It's all going to happen out there. It's very family friendly. There are also parts that are hardcore. There's a little bit there's a toilet there. We all take turns. You're also only 5 minutes out of Rocky, so you can take a shower too if you want, for those of you that don't believe in that. So that'll be June 14 to 16. And if you want to go there and camp the whole weekend, there's a small fee you pay us. You can either do it through an envelope or through our website. So once again, if this is your first time at Epic Church, I just want to welcome you. I want you to know that we're really happy that you're here with us. Any more info, go to the back or talk to any one of us. And we hope that you can have an encounter with Jesus today. Amen.
Amen. As we continue to worship today, I invite you to stand with us and sing the Lord's praises. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name, and sing like never before. Oh my soul, I worship Your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing Your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, and worship His holy
is great and your heart is kind. For all your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, and worship His holy name, and sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come, and still my soul will sing Your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. And bless the Lord, oh my soul, and oh my soul, and worship His holy name, and sing like never before. Oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name, and yes, I'll worship Your holy name, and Lord, I'll worship Your holy name. And when the music fades and all is stripped away, and I simply come, and longing just to bring something that's of worth that will bless Your heart, I'll bring You more than a song, for a song in itself is not what You have required. And You search much deeper within, through the way things appear. You're looking into my heart, and I'm coming back to the heart of worship, and it's all about You. It's all about You, Jesus. And I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I made it, when it's all about You. It's all about You, Jesus. And King of endless world, and no one could express how much You deserve. And though I'm weak and poor, and all I have is Yours, every single breath, and I'll bring You more than a song, for a song in itself is not what You have required. And You search much deeper within, and through the way things have been, and you're looking into my heart. And I'm coming back to the heart of worship. And it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. And I'm coming back to the heart of worship. And it's all about you. It's all about you, Jesus. I'm sorry, Lord, for the thing I made it. When it's all about you, it's all about you, Jesus. So this next song might be a little new to you, but it just tells this good message of how we're free, of how Jesus sets us free. And I just invite you, if you know it, to sing along with us. And you unravel me with a melody, and you surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, until all my fears are gone. And I'm no longer a slave to fear, and I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear, and I am a child of God. And from my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again into your family, and your blood flows through my veins. And I'm no longer a slave to fear, and I am a child of God. Oh, I'm no longer a slave to fear, and I am a child of God. Sing it again. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear, and I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. Yes, God, my fears were drowned in perfect love. And you rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. Oh, and I am a child of God. Say it again, church. I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. Oh, I am a child of God. Oh, I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. God, we want to come into you as free people, Lord. Here today, we ask that you come into this place. You lead us into this victory song, Lord, that we will embark upon today with Pastor Moses. Lead us to your victory, Lord. Lead us to that everlasting light that you give us. In your holy and most precious name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, praise team. That was awesome. I want to make a confession, but I trust that you won't tell anyone. Cool. All right. I like winning. All right. This is another way of saying it. I hate losing. And I'm a Flames fan. I hate losing, and I like winning. And so it's great to watch the Raptors in the final right now. Here's the deal, though. I don't know how you were raised, but sometimes in church life, it's like Christians get that impression that maybe Christians, followers of Jesus, shouldn't really care about winning. That losing is like, what would Jesus do? He'd be chill, wouldn't he? That's actually not found in the scripture. In the scriptures is, he'll give you the desires of your heart. In the scriptures is, you battle for God. In the scriptures, Jesus gives everything to have victory for you. So this is this conversation we're going to have about victory. And not just like, we're not trying to say that if you do this, you'll have victory. If you do that, if you don't do it right, you won't have victory. What we're trying to say is kind of label what it looks like when you have victory. What does it look like, for example, when you have victory in your marriage? Does it mean you're winning every argument? Someone said yes. I want you to know that even if you won the argument, you lost the argument. Just saying, all right? So what does it mean to have victory at work? What does it mean as a church if we have victory? Does that mean we have bigger buildings, more money? What does it mean? That's the conversation we're going to have. And today I just want to open it up with one principle. And it's this: victory is dependent on seemingly unrelated things. Okay? Victory is dependent on these seemingly unrelated things. And our job is to figure out what that thing is. Okay, so there's a guy who works in the NBA. He's a statistician. I think he just retired. He was the chief statistician. That's a thing. His name is Neil Payne. And since 1977, he's been recording every point, He's been recording every player's ability, and he has graphs. There's one graph that's really interesting to him, and it's a graph called wins above expectation. So he puts all the data in, he tells you how good your player is, what his shooting percentage is, and he adds it all up and he says, this is how many games this team should win. This is who should win when they play against another team. So every once in a while, the team that has better players, did I say that right? They actually end up winning. And the only factor that's the difference is the coach. Okay? So basically, this whole thing is to determine when the coach makes a difference. And there's one coach who's had 117 wins above expectation. He is 4 times more than any other coach that has ever been in the NBA. This guy's crazy. In fact, his team has won more games, has a better winning percentage than the New England Patriots. All right, this is not a football crowd. That's fine. That's fine. That's totally fine. But there's one thing. If you watch this guy, and I'll show you a clip here, and please try not to read what he's saying with his mouth. He's saying fiddlesticks or something like that. Okay? I'll show you the clip in a second. But you tell me, this guy, people who play for him say he was the best coach they ever had. They felt warm and cuddly with him. They felt like they mattered. They felt like they were the most important person in the world. And now watch this clip.
San Antonio jumping right out. Led by Tony Parker. Durant draws the foul. And Greg Popovich upset.
He's mad at Tiago Splitter, I believe. He wanted Splitter to come help immediately. And now DeJuan Blair is going to come in for Splitter.
It's all about rotations because when Kevin Durant has the rookie Leonard and he's backing down, you've got to be able to bring help and bring it quickly. Let Ibaka, let Perkins.
There's no lip readers here, right? He is consistently voted the best coach by players. So why is this cranky guy, how is he winning so many games? How do his players love him so much? And by the way, that clip is called Greg Popovich Destroys Splitter. That's the player's game. And there is a clip for each one of the superstars where this coach just tears into them. So this is what happens after the game. The game after Tiago Splitter ruins it all. The coach shows up at practice the next day. He's holding a plate of fruit, a plastic fork he's eating. He goes up to Tiago Splitter, and he puts his hand on his arm and looks up at him, and they're talking. There are 7 languages that are spoken on the Spurs, by the way. Very international team. He speaks all of them. Greg Popovich does. So he starts talking to Tiago, and if you're watching, you're like, oh, something crazy is going to happen. Before you know it, Greg Popovich has Tiago in a headlock and is rubbing his head, giving him a noogie. This gigantic 7-foot man is laughing. That's how Greg Popovich is. And then you keep watching, you can go, what is going on? Something is different about this guy. When they were about to draft Tim Duncan, he's been the MVP a bunch of times, Greg Popovich actually flew to his house. Lives in the Virgin Islands, flew to his house and showed up for 4 days, swam in his pool, ate his mom's food. They went on, no joke, long walks on the beach. For 4 days, they did not talk any basketball. He just wanted to give friendship to Tim Duncan. One of the things that every player says who's played for the Spurs is, we go to restaurants more than we play basketball. Yeah. Greg Popovich will take his team sometimes twice a day to a restaurant. He'll pick the restaurant. He'll go to each player. He'll keep a little list of the things that they like. He'll order ahead of time for his players. At the end of the year, if you're an assistant coach with Greg Popovich, he'll give you a leather-bound book that has all the menus of every restaurant you went to. He wants to give you his friendship. In fact, you see this the most when they were playing in the finals against the Heat 2013. It was an absolute heartbreak. They were up 3 games. There was champagne waiting in the locker room for the Spurs. They had a 10-point lead, and with like 1 minute to go, LeBron James did a LeBron thing, and they lost the game. The Heat took it over. Tony Parker, he's also an MVP, gets yelled at all the time. He was on the bench crying his eyes out. Tim Duncan was on the floor spread out. You can see the videos. It's just, they didn't know what to do. Greg Popovich, before the game, had told him that he had reserved the Il Gabbiano restaurant, the best restaurant in San Antonio. He'd reserved it. You'd expect him to cancel that reservation, right? They lost the game. He keeps the reservation. He goes to the restaurant. He does the same. He orders appetizers for the guys. The news reporters are watching, and this guy just looks devastated. Greg Popovich, just a terrible game. They've lost it all. And as soon as the first player walks in, Greg does this. He gets up, goes to the player. Hey, man, good game. Gives him a hug. Tiago walks in again, rubs his head. Tim Duncan, good game, man. You did good. Every single player gets a personal comment from Greg Popovich. So this is what he's doing. Seemingly unrelated things. Eating. Noogies. Seemingly unrelated things become the keys to victory for the San Antonio Spurs. The reason this guy's the best coach is because he is the best friend of all these guys, and it's the reason that he can go off on them in the middle of a game, and they listen, and they're superstars, and they listen because he's invested in their life. So we're going to look at something that's seemingly unrelated in the scriptures. If you have your Bibles with you, please open them to the book of Exodus. We're going to be in the book of Exodus, chapter 17. Book of Exodus, chapter 17 is just a really short story. It's going to be the story of the Israelites. They've just come out of Egypt, okay? They were slaves a little while ago. This is the first freedom that they have. This is how they're going to encounter the land. Okay, so this is Exodus chapter 17, verse 8. And it reads like this. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. That is a strange story. We need to acknowledge that, all right? And we're going to talk about it. The first character that we have here is this group called the Amalekites. Any Amalekite fans? No? Cool, right. Nobody knows who they are. In fact, they're actually related to the Israelites. We're told in Genesis that the Amalekites come from Esau, who is a brother to the Israelites. They're kind of related. But they're kind of like really bad people. Throughout the books of Moses, he's going to tell us more of this story. In fact, in Numbers, here we go. In Deuteronomy 25:18, he's going to tell us more about this attack. And he says that the Amalekites came out during the evening and they attacked the rear guard. The rear guard is where you had children, you had sick people, and you had old people. Whenever the army would travel, all the weakest people would go in the back. All the slowest people would go in the back, and that's what you call a rear guard. And it was accepted practice among all the nations. You just never attack the rear guard. It's acknowledged practice. If you're going to attack us at our front, attack us at our army. But in Deuteronomy, it tells us that the Amalekites go out of their way to attack them in the back. This is what they do. They do a terrorist act. And the introduction that the Israelites have to this land is terror. And terrorism is meant to stop you in your tracks so that you no longer go forward. In fact, this attack is so brutal that later on, they actually do get scared. Because when Moses sends spies into the land, and they come back, they say, the first words that they say are, and the Amalekites live there. And the Israelites say, let's turn back. This attack has scarred every single Israelite because there is no safe place. So that's where they show up. And for the rest of the time, the Amalekites will keep coming up in the story of Israel over and over again. This is the first battle that they see. So and then Moses responds and says, I want you to grab your best men, is what he says, Joshua. So we're not talking grab grandma here. We're talking about grab Boris. I thought that was a tough sounding name. And as they fight, Moses goes up on a hill. This is where the story gets very strange. With the rod of God. Wow. And when he raises his hands, they win. But if his hands get tired and they come down, they lose. And then two people step in because Moses keeps getting tired, and they win. They win the battle. So this is a strange story. We're just going to look at 3 points in this story. I kind of help us out. First point. If you don't battle, you lose. It's as simple as that. If you don't battle, if you don't engage in your life, in whatever area, you don't have to be a believer of Jesus, by the way, in whatever area, if you don't engage, if you don't say, I'm a fighter, you're actually going to lose. And here's what happens. The Amalekites actually end up being titled, if you read any commentary, they're called the cosmic enemy, which means throughout the history of Israel, the Amalekites will always keep attacking them, and the Israelites only sometimes engage in battle. And the other half, they just let it roll over, and they don't go into the promised land because of the Amalekites. Their destiny is completely changed because they don't engage. If you don't fight, you lose. There's no such thing as not taking a side. If you don't fight, you lose because, this is the best way I can say it. There are some battles that are worth fighting. If you're in a committed relationship, that's a battle worth fighting. If you don't fight that battle, you lose. Relationships that don't get attention don't work. You're either growing or declining. Kids, if you don't fight that battle with your kids, if you don't love on them, you lose. If we don't fight the battle for our city loses. If you don't fight the battle in school, is this getting too personal now? Hey man, I was okay you with marriage and when those married people are on their own, but school, come on. If you don't fight that battle, if you don't engage, you lose and then you owe 40 grand. All right, if you don't fight the battle with your character, you lose. If you have outbursts of anger and you don't work on that character, you lose and it could take you out. If you have a battle with lust in your character and you're not engaging in that battle, it will take you out. First thing is, if you don't fight, you lose. Here's what gets me about the story. God could have said, stand back, watch me take out the Amalekites. And God would have done something amazing. Maybe rocks fall, I don't know. God could have done something, but that's not what God does. And he instead tells Joshua to pick some good fighters and go fight. It's important that Israel engages. It's important that Israel works for this. And now we're not talking about like good works, are going to save us. Good works is what Christians do. Well, they should, but not for that reason. The reality is that faith should be moving. Faith should be active. And they work. Okay, and then this is where the story turns. You read it here. Moses says, tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. Now we read that and we go, yeah, got it. But in Exodus, tomorrow is mentioned for a very specific purpose. It's only mentioned 17 times in the whole book. And every time that someone says tomorrow, it means that God's going to show up. It means that there's going to be a dramatic change, a dramatic transformation. Every time that there's a plague in Egypt when God intervenes with the Egyptians, Moses says, tomorrow I will do this. When they're going to cross the Red Sea, the day before, he says, tomorrow. When they come to Sinai, he says, tomorrow God will show up. And right now he says, tomorrow we are going to see God do amazing things. Because this is, no matter where you are in your life, as long as you have breath, there is hope. As long as you have breath, God can show up. We can say together, tomorrow there is victory. I could have even messed up today. That's what's so beautiful about tomorrow. It could be happening right now, and yet God says, tomorrow I can change everything. So it shows up. Okay, second lesson. This is kind of one we looked at in the beginning. Seemingly unrelated things are crucial to victory. So the question is, find out what that is. Moses goes up. It's pretty obvious. When he raises his arms, they win. Winning. When he puts his arms down, the other guys get the upper hand. No pun intended. This is where it gets confusing. A lot of commentators look at this, and they're trying so hard to figure out what Moses is doing. Some commentators will say, raising your hands is actually a way to say that Moses is praying. And that's kind of true. In the Bible, raising your hands is a prayer posture. So yeah, that could be true. Just one tiny issue. Every time that Moses prays in Exodus, it actually tells us that Moses lifted his hands and prayed. So why is it not telling us that he's praying there? And not just that. If he is praying, are you incapable of praying when your hands go down? So what's going on? Commentators are really confused. Some other commentators will say, actually, it's not prayer, it's worship. Moses is worshiping. That's also kind of true. But not really. The other one, this guy doesn't believe in God or anything. He says he's just being like a coach and cheering them on. And when people see, oh, Moses has his hand, they fight harder. And then when people say, oh, Moses is tired, we don't fight so good. I kind of like that guy. Another commentator is like, there's something wrong with his story because God isn't actually telling Moses to raise his hands. When the plagues happen in Egypt, God says, go raise your hand with the rod. When they cross the Red Sea, he says, extend your hand with the rod. And here, God hasn't said anything. And yet Moses is like, you know what? I'm going to go raise my hands. And God's somehow working with that. Here's the truth. Ready? Here it is. We don't know why he's raising his hands. Yeah. I love it when you get to a part in the Bible and you're like, I don't know. I think I kind of know, but I can't tell you. And people who go like, this is surely what happens. Actually, that's not really the case. But there is one thing that's different in this story. The story actually draws you in to the location of where Moses is. The story actually draws you in to the hill. Moses standing on the hill with outstretched arms. It's very interesting. The focus of the story should be on the battlefield, but it's actually taking us to the hill. And whatever it is that Moses is doing, whatever he's doing on the hill is directly related to what's happening on the battlefield. It focuses our attention on the hill. Whatever he's doing is making a difference. And the funny thing is to us, we feel like we need an explanation. Moses needs no explanation. He's up there raising his hands on the hill. The hands go down. He sees people getting hurt. Oh, this is what happens. CrossFit forever. They start winning. Tired. Beside him, Aaron and Hur see, hey, hands go down. They don't need any explanation. Is he praying? Is he worshiping? No, let's help him. Are we allowed to do this? Yeah, let's do it. And they win. They don't need any explanation. Here's what I want to say about that. Has anybody here made a fire? I know Brian's has to lift his hands. Now, what I'm going to say is going to seem like I'm insulting your intelligence. And that's what I mean to do. A fire, if it's a wood fire, needs wood. Right? Okay. Nowadays, if you just want to stay warm, you hit you hit a little button, right? Yeah. Some of you have like a smart thermostat. Like, it's so easy nowadays. Before, in the middle of winter, you had a fire. Your fire was life. Your job was to give that fire fuel, give it wood. If you stopped putting wood in it, it would burn for a little bit. But eventually, it would go out, and then, because it's old times, you would die with your 20 children. Okay? I know, it's a hard concept to understand, but even now, you have a fire. You don't even have to be a believer of Jesus to get this concept. There is something that gives you your unique purpose, your passion, something that makes you fully alive. And yet, just like a fire, that is fueled by something. And when you don't get that fuel, your fire goes out. And so in this conversation we're having is, what is that thing that fuels your fire? What is that one thing that you can do that will keep you going? In the spiritual world, we're talking a connection with Jesus. If you don't have that connection with Jesus, I don't care what else you're doing in your life, how many degrees you have, how many skills you have. If you don't have that connection, sooner or later, your fire will go out and you won't be the same person anymore. Figure out what that fuel is. Okay, last thing. Verse 12. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. This last point is just called leverage your environment. Leverage your environment. These guys, look at Moses. He's up there standing. I wonder what happened first. Did his legs start shaking a little bit? They look at each other. Hey, maybe we should put a stone so Moses can sit down. You actually see the progression in the story. They grab something like, hey, Moses, sit down. He's like, oh, thanks. He sits down. The rock was always there. Next thing, the staff keeps coming down. They help him. They hold him up. He gets his buddies involved. They hold him up. He leverages his environment to help him do that one thing that is indirectly related to the battle. Here's an adult lesson. It says if you're like a adult person who makes adult decisions, is no longer cool. No, just kidding. Okay, this is an adult thing, and again, it's going to seem like I'm insulting your intelligence, but I'm not. Here it is. If you want to do something, okay, just please forgive me. Please forgive me. If you want to do something, you have to plan for it, or it won't happen. That's adulting 101. If you want to do something, you have to plan for it, or it won't happen. Okay, let's make this real. if you want to play guitar, you have to practice guitar. You have to sign up for lessons. You have to make the time in your day, or else you won't know how to play guitar. If you want to connect with Jesus, read your Bible, you have to plan for it. And this is what this last point is. You have to leverage your environment for that to happen. If you know what time you go to work, you have to actually plan to get up earlier to spend time with Jesus, or it won't happen. If you want to do something meaningful, you have to plan for it. Leverage your environment. If you're not a morning person, don't do it in the morning. Do it at night. Leverage your environment. If you can't do it alone, get a buddy to help you out. Leverage your environment to do that one thing that fuels your fire. So I'd like to invite the praise team back up. So this is what we're doing in this series. We're looking at the keys to victory. Whatever struggle you're in, whatever battle is worth having, we want to walk this journey together. And we want to find that thing that is key to your victory. That may seem totally unrelated, but is key. If you're walking with Jesus, you actually have to spend time with Jesus. That's the key to that victory. It looks completely separate than your life, but you have to do it. If it doesn't happen, the fire will go out. The battle will begin to be lost. That's the reality. If it's your marriage, you actually have to do it. You got to figure out that thing, that key, that is the key to your marriage. It's maybe to sign up for counseling classes. It's maybe to actually go on a date and not just talk about it. To actually plan it, to leverage your environment so these things are happening. You want to do something new, you want to engage in a new experience, plan for it, engage for it. That's the key to victory. So we have, if you don't battle, you lose. There are some of you who are engaged in massive struggles right now that could take you out. If you get nothing else from today, I just encourage you to engage in the battle. Say that you will not go quietly. Whatever it is that you're in, it's not too late. You will not go quietly. You're going to fight this thing. Whatever it is that's taking you out right now, you are going to fight it. And you could have been on this journey a long time. No, you don't know me. You don't know me. You don't know my character. You don't know the kind of person I am. You don't know how much hate, how much anger I have inside of me. You don't know me. If you don't fight that, it will take you out. There are entire parts of the world that have been given over to hate and no longer fight it. Wherever you are in your life, I encourage you, engage, fight in it, because as long as you have breath, there is hope. As long as you have breath, there is hope. And whatever that practice is, seemingly unrelated, is crucial to your battle. The battle was won on the hill, not in the battlefield. There was another battle that was won on a hill where Jesus, seemingly unrelated, was on a hill and he gave his life for us. The ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate battle, that was victory so that we could have victory. So I encourage you today, do whatever you can, engage in this battle. Come on this journey with us. We want to walk towards victory. We want to walk together. We want to walk in our brokenness. We want to walk to a new life with Jesus.
Oh, my fears were drowned in perfect love. And you rescued me so I can stand and sing. And I am a child of God. Once again. And you split the sea so I could walk right through it. And my fears were drowned in perfect love. And you rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. Oh, I am a child of God. And I'm no longer a slave to fear. And I am a child of God. Oh, I'm no longer a slave to fear. And I am a child of God. We want to thank you for worshiping with us today. I'm told that there is too much food this week, so please stay, eat in excess this week, eat seconds, eat thirds, come and worship with us again next week, and have a blessed and happy Sabbath. We're going to sing some songs if you want to keep singing with us. And strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. And strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon our God. You reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God, and you do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak, and you comfort those in need, and you lift us up on wings like eagles. And strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. And strength will rise as we wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. And you are the everlasting God, and the everlasting God, and you do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak, and you comfort those who need, and you lift us up on wings like eagles. inside the lie of inward shame, but fix our eyes upon the cross and run to Him who showed great love and bled for us, and freely you've bled for us. And Christ is risen from the dead, and trampling over death by death. Come awake, come awake, come and rise up from the grave. Christ is one with from the dead, we are one with Him again. Come awake, come awake, come and rise up from the grave. And beneath the weight of all our sin, and you bow to none but heaven's will, and no scheme of hell, no scoffer's crown, and no burden great can hold you down. In strength you reign, and forever let your church proclaim that Christ is risen from the dead, trampling over death by death. Come awake, come awake, come and rise up from the grave. Christ is risen from the dead, we are one with Him again. Come awake, come awake, and come and rise up from the grave. And oh death, where is your sting? And oh hell, where is your victory? And oh church, come stand in the light, and the glory of God has defeated the night. And singing, oh death, where is your sting? And oh hell, where is your victory? Oh church, come stand in the light. Our God is not dead, He's alive, He's alive. Christ is risen from the dead, and trampling over death by death. Come awake, come awake, come and rise up from the grave. And Christ is risen from the dead, we are one with Him again. Come awake, come awake, come and rise up from the grave. We've waited for this day, we're gathered in your name, we're calling out to you. And your glory like a fire, awakening desire, will burn our hearts with truth. And you're the reason we're here, and you're the reason we're singing.
descending like a cloud. You're standing with us now. Lord, unveil our eyes. You're the reason we're here. You're the reason we're singing. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart, filling every part of our praise. Oh, come on and open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart and filling every part of our praise. Come on and show us your glory, and show us your power, and show us your glory, Lord. Yeah, come on and show us your glory, and show us your power, and show us your glory, Lord. Come on and show us your glory, and show us your power, and show us your glory, Lord. Yeah. And open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, a mighty river flowing from your heart and filling every part of our praise. Oh, come on